Here we are at Pancratia Hall, a beautiful historic building built by the Sisters of Loretto in 1929 to 1930 through the depths of the Depression. It's about a 65,000 square foot, 4-story building with an attic. We're going to convert this into a 74 affordable apartment building with creative designs throughout, beautiful exterior spaces, and a restored exterior. We're really excited to bring this to the citizens of Denver.
This is Pancratia Hall, named after the Sister of Loretto, who is credited with having found Loretto Heights College.
The Sisters of Loretto, through Mother Pancratia, who probably stood on this very spot that I'm standing on before any of these buildings were built out here, and looked at it and said, you know, this is one of the highest elevations here in Denver, and decided to purchase it. So the original purchase was made back in 1888, and then built the administration building with the cornerstone that was laid in 1890. So why is it important to the community? It's a landmark.
And to be able to preserve this sort of a structure designed by noted local architect Harry W.J. Edbrook, nephew of Frank Edbrook, that designed the Colorado State Capitol and many other wonderful buildings, including this chapel and admin building behind us. It's just an incredible opportunity to restore and repurpose a building like this.
Our partnership of Hartman Ely Investments and Proximity Green got under contract in the fall of 2018 to buy Pancratia Hall and to pursue affordable housing and historic preservation. Let's preserve the building, let's historically protect it for the next generation.
We love these old buildings and we work really, really hard to try to preserve them. And I think primarily just for the history, for the people who've attended school here and lived in the neighborhood. But also, if we don't preserve the history by retaining these buildings, they'll be torn down.
Yes, bed was here. I remember walking in and going, oh my God, this is where I'm going to live.
I came to Loretto Heights as a 16-year-old young woman. I ended up in Penn Hall in a very large dormitory. I think it was on the 3rd floor. There were about 12 of us freshmen, separated by curtains. You can imagine how much studying we did.
Late night studying, meeting someone in the bathroom so that we could still have the lights on, and going over notes or practicing what we thought might be test questions.
It was very precious then. And we had tunnels, you know, that went between the buildings. So we never had to go outside. And I seem to remember wearing the same outfit every day for like a week, just change my shirt. Well, I mean, we didn't ever see anybody.
And what Loretto Heights gave me was a soft spot to land. Gave me a little bit of refuge that I might concentrate on myself and my future.
First year I was in room 354 with 3 other girls, and we all had a great time together. We had bunk beds in the room.
My time at Loretto Heights in the nursing program was absolutely unbelievable. The campus couldn't have been prettier.
It was the most beautiful time of my life, and I look around and this college has not really changed.
I was the last class that was here. I was supposed to be the class of '89, but the school closed in '88. And I actually had my picture on the front of the Rocky Mountain News crying in the chapel. And this school just holds so many memories.
This is a room that one of the nuns, you know, there were nuns on every floor. And the reason she got this room here, because she had a bathroom. The math and physics lab were down in the lower level, and Sister Margaret Grace made fudge almost every night on the Bunsen burners. All of those of us who were on scholarships were required to live in Pancratia Hall. So in a way, Pan Hall was the affordable housing of the campus in its first life.
All of these spaces and this beautiful place is waiting to be filled with new legacy and new laughter and new voices and a new sense of community.
These are beautiful old things that deserve to be saved. If somebody couldn't find a good way to reuse it, eventually this building would either fall down or be torn down for something else. It's part of the narrative of the city. It tells you a story about what this area of the city used to be like.
We applied to the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, or CHFA, in the spring of 2019 and were awarded low-income housing tax credits to turn this building into affordable housing. The way that affordable housing works is they are able to provide funding up front in the form of tax credits that then enable us to reduce rents for the life of the property. And while CHAFA's rent restrictions last for 15 years, because of our other partnerships with the city in Denver and the state of Colorado Division of Housing, we actually are going to be keeping rents on this property reduced for over 60 years.
About a year into the process, when we heard that Hartman Ely and Proximity Green wanted to take this building and repurpose it into residence for working families, I was thrilled. I cannot think of a better way to honor the spirit of Loretto than to make this building a residence for working families, for people who need to live in the city as it gets more and more expensive for everybody. If the vision is fulfilled, if we can pull this off, it's going to be a fantastic place.
Depends on who's doing the grading between you guys.
When you're working with an existing building, usually there are architectural drawings of that building and some kind of a set. And this building is so old. In those days, the architect did 5, 6, 7 drawings, and that's about it. So all we had was a very small number of old historic drawings to work from. The design process should have a little bit of a life of its own. When you're done, it's really not the ownership of one person, it's the ownership of everybody.
We just could not have done this without our partners. The City and County of Denver and the Housing and Stability Department, the State of Colorado and the Division of Housing, and the campus developer, Westside Investment Partners, all came together and provided patient capital and really generous terms to help finance the deal with loans that last for over 40 years and really maintain and preserve the affordability on the property for the next generation. Another key partner in the deal that helped us out is the Denver Housing Authority. They allowed us to enter into a partnership for a tax exemption on the property because of the affordable housing in the building. And also they're going to serve as our property manager as experts in affordable housing management. And last but not least, our construction lender, A&B Bank and Jennifer Vager, who have just been so supportive throughout the entire project.
So a lot of these lockers we're going to keep, and then some of them will go because there'll be new apartment entries. This is the old gymnasium. We're going to divide this. Susan had the great idea of dividing it down the middle where the half court is, and where we are now will be a 4-bedroom apartment with a spiral stair and a loft, and on the other side of half court will be the same thing. You can see the basketball backboards and hoops, so we're going to keep those so you can shoot baskets as you cook dinner. So this is one of the old windows that we've taken out just to know how it was built for the new windows to get replaced, and the new window will look exactly like that. This is the attic, and we're going to replace this space with 4 new 3-bedroom units. And down here will be one of the 3 bedrooms. There'll be 4 new windows that face the courtyard for each one. So this will be quite a dramatic transformational space. We knocked some holes in the walls and the ceilings to be able to show folks, our contractors and designers, especially what are the real structural conditions and old asbestos conditions. So these kinds of investigations help us get more accurate plans and construction. One of the things that really gets us and really excites us are some of these old details. Like you can see the cast stone name panel, the historic light fixture, the brickwork, the stonework. You just aren't able to build this kind of quality anymore. It's cost prohibitive, especially for affordable apartments. I'm so happy to welcome all of you to Pancratia Hall. We're very fortunate to have this beautiful day.
There is no place in Southwest Denver that is more meaningful to the people here and the community here than the land on which we're standing.
Commitment to affordable housing is something that we as a city will have to be dedicated to for the foreseeable future, because we have to make this a city that is a city that welcomes diversity, and nothing says inclusion more than saying there is a place for you no matter where you are on the economic scale in this city. Let's open it up. Countdown 3, 2, 1.
Oh, this is a lot of fun. This is my career and this is what I love to do. I grew up around here, so Yeah, it's pretty amazing. This place is pretty old. It's pretty amazing to be in here. I've never been in here before.
So right now we're in the demo phase of construction. We're clearing out the 4th and the 5th floor, and come next week we're going to begin the framing and doing a lot of the structural work in the 4th and 5th, creating that new level in the 5th floor, which is currently the attic. Be super careful. Right now we're working on demoing out the 5th floor and converting the 5th floor into 4 new units. We're going to be putting in 12 new dormers, getting it down to the structure so we can see what we got to do. So we're going to be refurbishing the crosses on the ridges, and then also these finials right here. We're going to be putting new ones in and restoring a lot of the masonry and freshening things up on the outside.
There were lots of things we didn't know until they did demolition. We thought that the structure for the roof was 1 story high, these big wood timber trusses. We didn't know until they started demolition that those were actually 2 stories high. On the 4th floor, there are all these giant diagonal struts going through the middle of all of our 4th floor units that we couldn't get rid of. There were lots of aspects of the building like that that we discovered, and we had to, on the fly, make a whole bunch of quick changes.
So these are the LVL beams that are going to be installed in the 5th floor. These are going to carry all the load for the floor up there as well as the units. And with the building already constructed, there's really no access to get them into the building. So in order to get them in, they have to come through windows, and it's kind of a jigsaw puzzle to get them turned around and up in place. So we're not allowed to cut them. As you can see in here, we're going to preserve this entire chapel. We're taking extra care to protect the existing surfaces, a lot of the old oak woodwork, existing floor, a lot of the older details, just to kind of keep that history within the building. When people come in, they're going to tell that this building, was built 100+ years ago, and they're going to see the history and feel the history. It's an amazing project. To be able to work on a historical remodel like this is something that not a lot of people can say that they've done. So it's something that I'm really proud of, and I'm really glad that I'm able to be a part of the project team.
Every time we drive past here or even miles away, my kids now see the clock tower and say, "Hey Dad, there's work." I'll be able to drive by this historical site and say, I took a large part in that project.
Hacer algo tan grande y tan importante para la comunidad, lo que lo hace importante para mí.
I think back to almost 100 years ago, how they built this building is incredible.
I think adding the historical aspect, for me, it makes it that much more special. Not just doing things for profit or doing things any old way, but doing things kind of to set the building apart and really make a legacy out here.
Super exciting. I mean, it's a fun project, historical. It's cool to bring it back to life. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Pancratia Hall involves a financial structure that uses low-income housing tax credits along with federal historic tax credits and state historic tax credits. And all of that was brought together through our investor. PNC Real Estate stepped up. We had issued a request for proposals on March 10th of 2020. That was really incredibly poor timing on our part. COVID broke out and hit that same week. The investment world just went absolutely silent. And we are so glad PNC Real Estate stepped up and said, yep, we'll make an investment, we'll do the deal. And they have been a great partner ever since.
As we've been going through this demolition process over the last few months, it's really amazing to see how the building's transformed. This used to be an abandoned attic, and we've put in a new floor system that you can see behind me. You can see some of the truss work of the old roof system that we've reconfigured to make it more livable, higher ceilings.
That's what it's sitting on, that's like mounted. So this is the existing elevator shaft. We're gonna infill the existing door, and we're actually gonna move the new elevator door to the south side of the shaft. So that's what we're doing right now, is taking off the old doors that are going to be salvaged and reused. So right now we're working on underground plumbing inside the building. So we got all this existing terrazzo that we're going to be keeping.
Well, let's go around and we'll show you a few things on the outside, and then we'll go inside.
Well, construction's been underway here for about 2 months now, and I'm just blown away by how much progress has been made on bringing Pancratia Hall back to life.
We're starting to get a little sense of getting some light and some views back into these gym apartments. This beam right in the middle will be a new full-height demising wall. We're lowering the slab quite a bit. Yeah. The original slab used to be right here. This will be a second 2-bedroom apartment, so there'll be 2 bedrooms carved out of the catacombs of Pancratia. So you can see the old ballroom with the arches. So we're going to integrate these arches into the new apartment layouts.
It's amazing how well preserved those arches are.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
They're just not even touched.
Yeah. This will be the dining area, so that'll be a china cabinet for some lucky resident. And then we're going to keep the chalkboard. Yeah, so this will be the 2 bathrooms right here. The bathrooms will get the benefit of this cabinetry. We try to reuse as much of that historic stuff as we can. This is going to be one huge 3-bedroom apartment.
Whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, this is an attic.
This is an attic, yep.
Wow.
It almost feels like a church, doesn't it?
Yes. We can look out the dormer?
Sure. I think these 4 apartments, Councilman, will probably be some of the nicest in the city.
Oh, yeah.
Just be able to look down on this gorgeous courtyard.
This is so cool.
This is such a great project to anchor the redevelopment of Loretto Heights. The spirit of Loretto lives through Sister Pancratia's memory. This building is named for her, and it's the most fitting outcome I could imagine.
So as you can see behind me, the building called Marion Hall is being demolished. That building was built as an addition to Pancratia Hall in the early 60s. Getting back to the original standalone feature of Pancratia Hall is really important. From an urban design perspective, we're standing in the middle of a new street that will be built here next year. And behind me, where Marion Hall stands, will be new big apartment buildings.
The rubble pile that sat to the east side of this building was really cool and unique. They brought a recycling plant here, and every piece of concrete was broken down and recycled.
Aquí vamos a demoler toda esta pared y vamos a recuperar el ladrillo viejo para volverla a poner otra vez. Today we're on the northwest corner of Pancratia Hall. This is where a previous building that was connected to Pan Hall was.
Well guys, this is nice that we put together a little laying of the capstone ceremony.
And that's it, perfect match.
Well, we had to rebuild this entire buttress. They left this existing and they tore off the rest of it. Pretty ragged, so we had to rebuild it.
Estoy muy orgulloso de trabajar en estos edificios viejos, en hacerlos como lo hicieron antes.
Well, on historic projects, what you get to see is the work of master craftsmen. It's not something that really exists today. So you really get to see the level of detail that they put into it. Being able to replicate it is really special to us.
Wanted to host this barbecue to show our appreciation to all you guys for doing all the hard work that everybody's doing on this project. It's a super cool project. It means a lot to a lot of people.
Thanks a lot, guys. We really appreciate all your great work.
We're going through the winter here. One of the challenges is the snow and the ice. It's a little bit of a challenge, but winter comes every year, so it's not too big of a surprise. The attic was never designed to have units on top of it, so we're adding some strength, putting in some steel beams. So these beams are approximately 500 pounds a piece. We cut a hole in the roof in order to get them in, and then we got some strong guys up there maneuvering them around.
It's a historic remodel. It's not something you get to do every day, and it's nice trying to preserve an old building like this instead of seeing it get torn down. Framing's the structure of your building. It all starts from there. That's where you need to have everything square and plumb. Makes it a lot easier for everyone.
Get that way, get that way.
So today we got these guys starting the framing in the basement. We got 2 units down here, done with all our structural concrete underpinning. Moving along.
It's a beautiful old building. It's not your typical renovation. The quality that's going into this in terms of the detail trying to save the original building is at a much higher level than most renovation projects are. You know, it's a great building. I'm glad it's being restored the way it should.
It is an old building. There's a lot more tight spaces that you have to get in. The things that you find in here are different than what you would see at a normal, like, new built building.
So another feature we're bringing back to life is we are going through close to 400 windows on the building. We had to go through an extensive process to come up with a window that matched the historical windows that were in place. So we demoed out all the old windows and we're bringing in all these new ones that match the historical guidelines.
So we're doing the stained glass window restoration review today in what was known originally as Christ the King Chapel. Heritage Window Restoration has done an excellent job restoring these stained glass casements. We changed the center portion of each of the bays into clear glass so that you can see out.
We restored the side lights so the original glass can go back in, and we also modified the center sash so it can be operable. It feels really good to be a part of this historic project because I get a chance to work on something that will be enjoyed later on with the future generation.
These are truly windows to 100 years ago when people were going to school here and learning, and now they're going to be enjoying living here.
There was 4 existing crosses on the top peaks of each of the corners of the building, and one of them was lost. We're not sure where it ended up. This was years ago. I know it seems like a simple figure, but there's a lot that goes into it, and our subcontractor did a very good job.
For this cross of Christ to be reinstalled is the outward sign of bringing new life to this treasured structure.
Just preserving that for everybody in the future is really what our job means to us.
11 plus 3/8 plus 1 inch.
We are restoring the ornamental precast stone finials on the top of this parapet behind me, which were some of the most important details of the original building. So these weigh about 500 pounds each. This is probably going to take about 3 or 4 guys. We're going to do one today to just make sure we got the details all correct, and then we'll do the rest of them.
Looks pretty good.
We're lining up the 1930 photo with the current photo just to see if the finial looks to be the right proportion, and I think it does.
We're right there at the finish line. We're moving in appliances as we speak, finishing up paint and some last minute drywall touches, screwing in the final light bulbs.
We jumped in there and came out of there.
A couple of things that we've salvaged from the building that are nice artifacts are some of the original elevator pulley wheels that made the elevator go up and down with the cables. So those are in the courtyard. A couple of the salvaged stone pieces from the front steps that were too damaged to retain. The courtyard itself is really turning out well. I think it's going to be a nice place for our families to hang out.
As you can see, there's these giant 6x6 posts with these arbors, and there's gonna be eventually grapevines growing up them all, be super shaded. There's tons of seating out here with benches.
So we're finishing up installing the art, which is the final piece of the building. Here we've got the original Harry Edbrook drawings, the blueprints, and then we paired them with the new drawings by our architect, Bill Brummett. And then we've got some beautiful old ones like this one of the ballroom that's now been divided up into apartments. It shows the history we've preserved and the new life that's been put into the building.
There was an existing piano fretboard here on site when construction began, and we removed it from the property and did some historic preservation on it. And we just had to have 6 guys haul it back up the stairs. And it's going to take those same 6 guys to help mount it on this wall when we're done.
That looks nice.
Pretty cool to be involved in this project. When I first moved to Denver 25, 30 years ago, I used to drive past this building every morning on the way to work. So it's great to have a better understanding of what this building's history was.
I mean, it's really amazing that these kind of projects seem to be fairly simple when you're all done, but to get us there is just an incredible amount of work. You gotta rip out all the previous walls and stuff that aren't staying, build back all these new systems, all the complicated MEP. I just am so happy with our construction team. They've done a great job.
There's problems, there's challenges, but it takes a team to solve that and to get through it. It takes some problem solving and some grit to get it done.
There is no one particular piece of the wheel that's the most important. Every cog of that wheel needs to be in the right spot, the right time, so we can all come together at the end is something special.
You know, when you start to see people lining up, people coming in the trailer looking for units, you know, looking for somewhere to fill out an application to get a living space, that's when it starts to hit home. Construction's construction, but you start to remember why you're doing it. You see the families coming, you see the kids coming up, and that's where it hits home.
This is a really fun day. We are finished with construction. We're in the historic lounge, which is one of the main spaces in the building that was fully restored. You can see behind me an aerial photograph from 1945 that shows the original core campus, and then the photograph of Mother Pancratia. One of the things that we really are excited about is the ability to do historic preservation like this, coupled with affordable housing. Historic preservation is extremely complicated. There's lots of agencies involved, the National Park Service, the Internal Revenue Service, Service, History Colorado, Denver Landmark Preservation Commission. We've gone through that whole process, and the outcome is this beautiful building. Part of our funding stack was a pre-development loan from Impact Development Fund, and IDF was a key team member that we're very thankful to have on board.
Welcome to Pancratia's 5th floor. We are in the studio units added to the attic of Pancratia. The mechanical equipment that sits just 10 feet to my side in a closet was originally intended to fill this space and really become an unused attic space. During construction, the final specifications for that equipment came back and it was much smaller than originally intended. That provided the opportunity to create 2 large, oversized studio apartments that you can see here. They're about 700 square feet each. 3 large, oversized skylights provide natural light. We also modified the roof structural system to raise the collar ties right above me and double them up to create the vaulted loft feeling in this space. And that's done in the other 4 apartments that are on the 5th floor as well in this former attic. And here we are in the 4th floor chapel unit, the former sanctuary in Pancratia Hall. And as you can see, we've converted this into a 3-bedroom apartment. We're so excited with the outcome. Right behind me, as you can see, the vaulted loft ceiling was a key feature to preserve, not only for the historic integrity of the building, but also for the National Park Service and State Historic Preservation Office approvals. Key features in this unit include restoration of 5 oversized stained glass windows, as well as 2 historic light fixtures that were some of the only hardware that remained in the chapel when we acquired the building. Here we are in Pancratia Hall's 2nd floor chemistry lab, or what was the former chemistry lab. We kept the chalkboards where possible, and the large oversized windows are a key feature in this unit. Very high ceilings, great livability, lots and lots of space. We're super excited for these units to be lived in, and I can tell you the first unit claimed in the building is this unit right here. The building will be occupied with families that are earning between 30% and 80% of the area median income. So that means everyone from retail workers to teachers to entry-level jobs. We just have such great space in so many of the units. High windows, high ceilings, very livable, ton of natural light. We're very excited for the building.
It feels good to be not only a part of a building like this, but then a part of affordable housing.
It's so important to preserve history, and the best way we can do this is to preserve these old buildings and to give people a sense of what was. We think it's super important to preserve them and create a new life for the people to come, the generations to come, so they understand what was.
One of the things that is really, really rewarding to us is by combining historic preservation and affordable housing, you get the best of all worlds. We've preserved this treasured local landmark that has decades of history and importance to the local community. It makes us feel great to be able to deliver that to the Denver community. So thanks to the community for helping us get there.